First doubts in the maternity ward. When Vanessa held Parker in her arms for the very first time, a strange sensation ignited deep within her. It was difficult to describe, yet profoundly hidden. It felt as though her subconscious whispered something crucial, but her conscious mind was not yet ready to accept the truth. The child she had endured long years of pain and hope for suddenly seemed unfamiliar to her. This inner struggle tormented and frightened her at once, appearing like a shadowy ghost in the silence of the delivery room. Vanessa could not bring herself to love the tiny, helpless being craving maternal affection. She avoided closeness, fearful to embrace Parker as expected. Even the mere thought of feeding him stirred a chilling dread inside her. Fear and alienation became a secret burden that tightened its grip with every passing day. She felt as if the baby lived a life detached from her soul. 7 years of anticipation, countless treatments, and endless hopes brought her only one answer. Becoming a mother would be a miracle. Vanessa longed for this miracle with all her heart and soul. After many attempts, conventional medicine no longer fueled her belief, yet she refused to give in. Together with her husband Ivy, Трилотър ни си нагледно глаши бла, и ниш натрена бтош до вини мож дестини. Той ян граскар, той реалистик, то proстведиволет савели ходвита. He asked questions and suggested adoption, but Vanessa remained in her conviction. This little one was destined to be their very own miracle. They visited the Pokrovsky monastery. They met Father Samuel, a kind and wise priest with whom they shared their doubts and hopes. After this encounter, a true miracle happened in their lives. Vanessa became pregnant. Joy overwhelmed them as the anticipation of their long-awaited son filled their home with light. Vanessa tenderly touched her belly, speaking softly to Parker while dreaming about their future. The name was already chosen in honor of the late Father Ian Elijah, who had been a steadfast pillar of the family throughout his life. Their happiness seemed complete. Yet, as Vanessa's pregnancy reached its later stage, dark shadows began to creep into her dreams. Troubling visions haunted her nights, where unclear shapes circled around her and the baby, as if warning of some impending misfortune. One night, she heard a mysterious woman's voice repeating the words, "This child is not yours. Remember that." Awakening drenched in cold sweat, Vanessa sighed deeply, desperate to escape these obsessive thoughts. The dreams pursued her consistently, whispering that the child belonged not only to her, but that someone else had also played a part in this miracle. Helplessness grew inside her. She did not know where to turn or how to interpret this cryptic sign. She tried to find solace in her own love and intuition, but doubts triumphed over her fears. At first, she dismissed the disturbing dreams as postpartum fatigue, stress, or anxiety. However, as the nightmares persisted, her spirit grew heavier by the day. After Parker was born, the feeling of estrangement only intensified. Vanessa was terrified for the baby, wondering what would happen to him. And at the most terrifying moment, she began to fear the child himself. This fear consumed her entirely, turning motherhood into a daunting trial. Parker, although an active toddler, increasingly became fussy and cried as if sensing a cold distance between him and his mother. Vanessa could not find a single trait in him that resembled either herself or her husband. This fact only deepened her anxiety. What if he truly was a stranger, That thought gnawed at her from the inside, like poison in the heart. One day, Vanessa gathered all her courage and spoke about it with Ian. He was having dinner while the baby was peacefully sleeping in his cradle. "Ian, this child is not yours," she said softly, trying to choose the right words. Her husband flinched but quickly replied, "He is not mine either." A silence fell, and then, with a slight smirk, he asked, "Then whose child is this?" Vanessa struggled to explain. "You see, it is hard to put into words. I feel he is a stranger because we waited for him for so long." And suddenly, Vanessa stopped short. She noticed the confusion and irritation wash over her husband's face. "We worked for 7 whole years to get here, and now you say suddenly?" Ian's tone grew sharp, but no test had revealed any answers. "Do you understand? Nothing is clear." Vanessa whispered quietly. "There is no nothing." Her husband interrupted abruptly. "You are worn out. The birth was difficult, the baby was sick for a long time. You are just being hysterical." Ian tried to embrace and calm his wife. He mentioned postpartum depression and suggested they go somewhere to relax. But Vanessa shouted back, "I do not want to go anywhere." At that moment, Parker woke up and started crying loudly. Fear and despair clung to the room. The woman was overwhelmed once again. That very day, Laura's mother-in-law arrived. She had sensed tension in the family for quite some time. Despite the long-awaited birth of her grandchild, the wise woman immediately understood that the situation was more complicated than it appeared from the outside. During an honest conversation, Ian admitted he did not know how to support his wife and their baby. "Mom, she came up with the idea that the child is not ours and I am not the father," he shared, revealing his concern. Laura, guided by keen intuition, seriously reflected and said, "Listen, my son, you cannot ignore a mother's feelings. A maternal heart often senses what the eyes cannot see. Perhaps this is a warning." The woman then told a story about Ludmila, a wise seer who performed miracles and helped in the toughest moments. Laura recalled Elijah, their neighbor, whom Ludmila had healed, noting how many believed in her and hoped for salvation. "Go see her. But the most important thing is to come with faith and an open heart," she advised. Although Ian was a skeptic, he realized it was worth trying everything for the joy of the family. He noticed that Vanessa had changed. She had become quiet and pale, as if she had lost her former strength. So, under the pretense of going to the park, they found themselves at Ludmila's modest home. The house looked simple and unassuming, and the woman who greeted them was short and slightly stooped, but her eyes radiated kindness and light. She gently took Parker in her arms and, smiling, asked, "Has the baby calmed down?" It seemed the child felt the spiritual warmth and tried to smile back. Vanessa shared her experiences of unsettling dreams and deep fears. For a long time, Laura sat silently, holding her hands, and then reassured her that the child was completely fine. Every gesture of Parker reflected the mother's anxiety that he could sense. However, tomorrow, everything would change, once a mother's heart found its calm. Laura reminded Vanessa about the visit to the Pokrovsky monastery, where she had prayed to Matrona of Moscow. It was thanks to her that help came. Your little one belongs both to this world and to you. He will grow up to be a pillar, not only for families, but for many people, saving lives, the seer said gently, smiling. She encouraged Vanessa to live in love and joy, to protect one another and their child with care. When Vanessa left Laura's home, tears of relief streamed down her cheeks. It felt as if a heavy burden of pain and despair had finally been lifted. Standing next to Ian, she felt a renewed surge of strength and hope. The couple held hands, sensing the dawn of a new existence, where miracles were possible and kindness grew alongside their children. Their son Parker grew into a kind and compassionate young man. Soon their family welcomed a younger daughter named Rada, a symbol of light and happiness. This story was only beginning, and many challenges and joys awaited them ahead, everything to be faced together. For 7 long years, filled with hope and trials, Vanessa had sensed something indescribable. From the very moment Parker was born, an inner chill gripped her, as if the baby, like a stranger, was held captive in her arms. Her heart was overwhelmed by wild terror. The bond she had expected to feel with her newborn simply did not form. She was afraid to hold the boy close and barely dared to feed him. For 7 difficult years, she had been moving toward this very moment. After undergoing numerous medical examinations, each procedure only deepened her despair, while her faith in conventional medicine slowly faded, giving way to a longing for a miracle. Ian, her husband and pillar of support, stood by Vanessa, yet secretly harbored doubts. He frequently voiced his concerns with a hint of anxiety in his tone, even suggesting adoption. But she resolutely searched for her miracle. With every visit to sacred places and meetings with the wise woman of Dotya, her hope for motherhood grew stronger, despite the overwhelming hopelessness. Following a pilgrimage to the Pokrovsky monastery, and with the constant encouragement of priest Samuel, the long-awaited blessing arrived. Vanessa became pregnant. The news brought immeasurable joy and filled their home with happiness. Vanessa's face was continually lit up with a smile, while Parker gently caressed his wife's belly with tenderness. They had already chosen the name Parker for their son, symbolizing the start of a bright new chapter in their lives. Yet, as the due date approached, restless nights began to haunt them. Vanessa dreamed of shadows swirling around her and the baby. An indistinct female voice warned her that the child was not hers. Awakening in cold sweat, she battled an inner fear, silently trying to decipher these mysterious signs. Parker attempted to rationalize these nighttime visions as physiological reactions, urging Vanessa not to succumb to emotions or fears. He made every effort to keep their family united, but her words and those dreams left him uncertain. One day, while their baby was asleep, Vanessa confessed honestly, "Parker is neither yours nor mine." This statement shook Ian deeply. He responded sharply, struggling to contain his irritation. A conflict loomed over their relationship, and the emotional tension continued to grow. Vanessa felt isolated and hopeless in the situation. Parker cried often, constantly seeking maternal affection, yet a barrier of alienation between them seemed impossible to break. Vanessa tried to find traces of herself or her husband and Parker's features, but found none. The house was filled with the pain of misunderstanding. At this point, Laura, the mother-in-law, stepped in. She was a wise, empathetic woman with a strong intuitive sense. Sensing the tension and wanting the family's well-being, she suggested turning to Ludmila, known for her healing gifts and the ability to foresee. Laura told Ian about Elijah, a neighbor whom Ludmila had once helped, and encouraged him to visit her. Although skeptical, Ian's desire to help his wife and child convinced him to agree. On Saturday, Ian took Vanessa and the baby under the pretense of a walk to a modest home in town. Vanessa was cautious, but entered the house of the elderly woman with bright eyes and a kind spirit carefully. The baby seemed to sense the kindness, and soon calm settled over him as he lay peacefully in Ludmila's arms. During their talk, Ludmila uncovered the source of Vanessa's fear. The child truly picked up on her anxiety and apprehension, and that affected his behavior. The old woman reassured Vanessa that Parker belonged to both her and Ian, and the troubled dreams were warnings, calls for greater attention. Ludmila perceived the child's connection not only with his parents, but also with the world to which they entrusted his destiny. She spoke about the spiritual support offered by the Pokrovsky monastery and emphasized that a mother's love is not only a gift, but also a significant responsibility. These words seemed to lift a heavy burden from Vanessa's soul. She wept with relief, as feelings of despair quietly transformed into hope. On their way home, the couple held hands, sensing a new life ahead, filled with light and endless possibilities. Parker grew into a kind and compassionate young man, choosing the path of medicine in order to help others. Later, their family welcomed a daughter named Radha, who became a symbol of renewed hope and happiness, bringing brightness and joy into their home. The story was just beginning to unfold its secrets, where past and future intertwined, and faith and love opened the way to miracles. Now Vanessa and Ian were prepared to face all the challenges that the coming days generously held for them. Ahead lay a new discovery that marked the beginning of the next chapter in their remarkable life. Vanessa could not shake the uneasy feeling that the miracle she deeply longed for was close, but slipped away like a shadow. Her heart pounded harder as she walked alongside the stone walls of the Pokrovsky monastery, hoping to find the answers and comfort that were so absent from her life. Her husband Ian watched her quietly, maintaining his belief in reason and logic, yet never leaving her side, always offering support. Despite his doubts, he stood by his wife. During those days, when hope seemed to fade, Vanessa turned to sacred places, and each visit to the church was an attempt to reach a light that might provide strength. At the monastery, they were greeted by Father Samuel, a man with a proud posture and penetrating eyes, whose face and kindness appeared to be a source of healing for many. He listened intently to Vanessa, as if reading her soul and sensing the pain and fear behind her words. The medical diagnosis felt cold and distant, with doctors' voices failing to touch the depth of the woman's suffering. After hearing her story, Samuel offered to support them with prayer and directed them to an old acquaintance Seer Avdotia. According to legends, she helped people regain what seemed impossible to find. Vanessa admitted she met the idea with skepticism, yet retreat was not an option. Avdotia turned out to be nothing like the mysterious sorceress cloaked in shadows Vanessa had imagined. Instead, she was a simple woman with a clear gaze and a gentle smile that radiated calmness. She listened to Vanessa without judgment, offering not just words, but rituals that could aid in cleansing the soul and restoring inner peace. Upon meeting her, Vanessa's heart began to thaw for the first time in a long while. Everything felt possible when surrounded by people willing to share pain without condemnation. Meanwhile, Ian remained rational, observing how his wife grew stronger inside, fully aware that the true battle was unfolding within her. In the endless quest for light, they visited several grandmothers and seers, renowned in the area for tales of extraordinary abilities and assistance. Even in the darkest moments, every encounter revealed a new layer of faith and hope. Each piece of advice and every word helped unravel the tangled web of inner fears. Doubts still lingered, yet Vanessa was learning to trust not only medicine, but also invisible forces that seemed to shelter her like wings along this journey. Ian observed the transformation of his wife carefully. Once gentle and timid, she steadily grew stronger. Her gaze began to glow with determination and brightness. Among stories of kindness was the tale of their neighbor Elijah. This elderly man, who appeared worn down by time and illness, had once been healed by an astonishing power bestowed upon him by Ludmila, the one whose hands brought forth miracles. Memories of him inspired Vanessa with hope. The immense faith in the goodness and light of such people restored belief in the impossible, right at the moment when despair seemed undefeatable. The support of loved ones, the warm words of Laura, and the comforting presence of Svietrov became Vanessa's second breath, reminding her that no fight is lost when care and love stand nearby. Laura was a woman with wise eyes and a deep heart. She sensed that Vanessa carried something unique inside her, a blend of joy and fear, hope and uncertainty. The mother-in-law often sat quietly beside her, silently sharing in her pain and showing readiness to support and protect her in the hardest times. It was through Laura's encouragement that what followed came to pass. A suggestion was made to reach out to Ludmila, the mysterious woman whose reputation echoed throughout every corner of the village. Within Vanessa's heart, a new glimmer of hope began to grow. If even Ian, usually doubtful and cautious, was willing to take this step, then perhaps there was some truth to it. The quest for a miracle persisted. One day, under the excuse of a simple walk in the city park, Ian got into the car with his wife and their long-awaited son Parker, heading toward the suburban dock where Ludmila lived. Vanessa gazed with unease and suspicion at the bleak walls, unaware that this very place would become the starting point of changes capable of restoring her peace and love for her child. Little Parker, weary from the long trip, suddenly calmed, as if under an unseen blessing. Licking his lips and observing his grandmother's wrinkled face. Ludmila greeted them with a warm smile and kind eyes that seemed to peer far beyond the ordinary and hidden from common sight. She gently took the baby into her arms, soothing Vanessa with simple words, assuring her that everything was fine with her son. For a woman burdened by fear and uncertainty, this was like a breath of fresh air. Bathed in the gentle glow of kindness, Vanessa shared her nightmares and anxious dreams. The grandmother listened attentively and after a while explained that the child belonged not only to her and Ian, but to the whole world, and especially to those sacred forces to whom they had been praying. She emphasized that the greatest fear came from the mother herself. Affecting the little one, Ludmila urged Vanessa and Ian to remain calm and hold on to their belief. She conveyed that the light shining from their son was something greater that would shield him from the dark shadows Vanessa had seen in her dreams. Those shadows, it turned out, were merely warnings rather than a final verdict. Her words filled Vanessa's heart with brightness, and tears of relief streamed down her cheeks. From that moment forward, a new mission took root within her: to raise Parker as an honest and kind soul, one capable of bringing goodness into this world. Leaving Ludmila's cottage, Vanessa and Ian held hands, sensing they were crossing an invisible threshold into a fresh chapter of life. The journey ahead was far from easy, yet it was now illuminated by the light and hope awakened within Vanessa's spirit, nurtured by the wisdom and care she had found in those around her. Time passed, and Parker genuinely blossomed into an exceptional young man with an open heart and a desire to help others. He enrolled in medical school, following a calling that had deeply settled inside him since childhood. Several years later, their family was blessed with a younger daughter named Rada, a symbol of new hope and joy. Vanessa and Ian joyfully embraced this tiny spark of light, through whom they felt a sense of completeness and harmony. Their story became proof that miracles manifest where they are wholeheartedly awaited, that faith sustains even the toughest moments, and that love and understanding hold the power to unlock the most guarded doors of the human soul. With these thoughts, they quietly moved forward toward a new chapter in their lives, filled with promises and incredible discoveries. The joy of pregnancy and a new name. The moment Vanessa learned about her pregnancy, it felt as though the entire world had changed forever. A gentle and warm light of hope ignited within her, slowly growing and filling her heart with endless energy. After many years of waiting and countless disappointments, this news was truly a miracle. It was as if fate had decided to gift her the long-awaited present. Vanessa carefully considered how to name the baby growing inside her, and chose the name Parker in honor of her father Ian, whom she never had the chance to meet. Despite his skepticism, Ian was Vanessa's support during these challenging times. His confidence helped her stay grounded and manage her fears. He constantly assured her that he would stand by her in everything, because family meant everything to him. Still deep inside, he felt uneasy seeing how Vanessa was torn apart by inner conflict and struggled to connect with the child, who was still so new and almost a stranger to her. One significant moment in these events was the meeting with Avdotia, a wise seer whom Vanessa found following her neighbor's recommendation. Avdotia listened carefully, absorbing every word, and helped Vanessa regain faith in the miracle she dreamt of. She explained that a mother's love sometimes does not come immediately, and that all she needed was patience and trust. Patience and self-belief are needed to truly sense that strong connection with a baby who has already become a part of life. Vanessa, while talking with Avdotea, started to see fears not as something frightening, but as a challenge that must be overcome. When the family visited the Pokrovsky monastery, they met Father Samuel, whose spiritual encouragement strengthened Vanessa's and Ian's faith. The priest spoke about how every living being is a gift from God, and how a mother's love can overcome any doubts. After a heartfelt blessing, the woman felt an unusual calm spread through her. This day marked a turning point since, like never before, a spark of hope ignited in Vanessa's heart and soon began to shine even more brightly. Nearby, an old man named Elijah also became a symbol of hope and change. Elijah, once gravely ill, was healed by Ludmila herself, a woman with a special gift. His story encouraged Vanessa to believe that miracles happen to those who keep faith. Elijah shared stories about how health returns not only to the body, but also to the soul, emphasizing the importance of never losing the inner light even in the darkest moments. These words deeply touched Vanessa and brought warmth into her anxious heart. Laura, Vanessa's mother-in-law, always showed empathy and understanding, even if she could not fully share her fears. She looked at her daughter-in-law and sensed that she needed support not only with physical help, but also with spiritual strength. Laura suggested sharing her life experience and advised not to be afraid of opening up to feelings. Only by accepting our fears can we learn to live alongside them without letting them control us. This wisdom gradually helped Vanessa find peace and inner strength. Parker, their baby, who was born after a long-awaited pregnancy, carried a special destiny. His arrival symbolized a fresh start and happiness for Vanessa and Ian's family. Despite the challenges of those first days, when fear and isolation threatened to overshadow the joy of motherhood, Vanessa slowly realized that her child responded to her tenderness and love. Those moments of gentle, unconditional acceptance helped her overcome doubts and become a true mother who revealed her whole heart to her son. Day by day, Vanessa and Ian learned to rebuild their relationship, relying on mutual understanding and support. Ian, as a devoted father, aimed to provide their son with the very best, while Vanessa gained confidence in her strength and the importance of motherhood. Their home filled with light and warmth, as if made from the prayers and hopes they had silently whispered to their souls. This family became a fortress where miracles found a place every single day. After several years full of hardships and trials, a new joy arrived in their household. A little daughter named Rada was born, becoming a living symbol of renewed hope and the continuation of a family line filled with love and brightness. Vanessa and Ian felt that their happiness was now complete and fulfilled. Laura became the very light that illuminated their path and reminded them that there is always room in life for miracles, faith, and maternal tenderness. This marked the end of a significant chapter in Vanessa and Ian's lives. Despite fears and uncertainties, they had overcome many challenges and found their joy by learning to trust not only themselves but also the world around them. Their story was just beginning, with a new chapter ahead filled with discoveries, love, and the incredible events that would make their family even stronger and more joyful. The journey to happiness continued, and this was the greatest gift fate could offer. Anxiety-filled dreams and mysterious warnings unsettled Vanessa from the very first moments after leaving the maternity hospital. Holding Parker in her arms, she already sensed that something was off, as if a part of her soul refused to fully accept the baby. Her heart was chilled, and her stomach tightened with an unease that she could not let show. Unconsciously, every cell inside her screamed that the child did not entirely belong to her. Vanessa hesitated even to breastfeed him, fearing closeness and affection, because the infant seemed like a stranger from another world. 7 years of painful attempts, hundreds of procedures, endless examinations, and a diagnosis that whispered of motherhood's impossibility defined their struggle. Vanessa knew the road would be long and full of hardships. Jan stood by her side, sharing her hope and breathing the same air of expectation. But even he began to tire from the relentless trial and error. Hope was fading away, yet the woman's heart remained restless and openly believed only in miracles. In a world filled with doubts and endless questions, she longed for a single thing: to find family happiness and become a mother. Although the journey toward her dream was far from easy, Vanessa made a pilgrimage to the Pokrovsky monastery, where Samuel, a wise priest, blessed her with hope for the long awaited miracle. There, surrounded by silence and holiness, she felt a light stirring in her soul, as if the prayers were awakening a new melody deep within. Very soon, the most extraordinary event happened. She discovered she was expecting a child. Joy overwhelmed her, and every tiny movement of the baby inside felt like a beautiful confirmation of her dream. The name Parker was chosen carefully, honoring their ancestors, family history, and dreams of a promising future. Yet, as the time of birth approached, nightmares began haunting Vanessa more often and with greater intensity. In the darkness of the night, shadows resembling mysterious figures surrounded her and the baby, as if preparing her for a dreadful revelation. In one of the dreams, a mysterious woman appeared, her face utterly indistinct, whispering in a hoarse voice, "This child is not yours. Remember this." Vanessa woke up drenched in cold sweat, her heart pounding wildly. "How can this be?" she repeated aloud, overwhelmed by fear and confusion. The dreams turned into a painful, recurring song. A strange voice softly said, "You were helped. The baby belongs not only to you, but also to the one who performed the miracle." She hesitated, torn between acknowledging these feelings and wanting to dismiss the intrusive thoughts. At first, Vanessa believed that this was just. It was nothing more than the effect of endured stress and postpartum anxiety. Yet, the nightmares refused to leave her. With each passing day, awakening an ever-growing sense of detachment within her soul, the woman drifted further away from Parker. She feared for his future and, most terrifyingly, feared him himself. After a grueling and exhausting childbirth, she felt wounded and drained, her only relief found in silent tears throughout the night. She strained to detect familiar features of Vanessa or Ian in the child's face. But Parker's expression seemed foreign, distant. A bitter thought haunted her mind. Maybe he's not mine. Doubt took root, eroding past joy and filling her heart with heavy bitterness. One day, summoning all her courage, Vanessa decided to confess to Ian. During a quiet lunch, while Parker slept soundly, she said, "Ian, I think our child might not be ours." At first, he refused to believe his ears. He blamed exhaustion and postpartum depression, trying to soothe his wife and dismiss those fears. But her gaze, filled with pain and helplessness, stirred genuine concern within him. "If you feel that way, then we should find the answer together," he whispered, abandoning his skepticism. A painful argument unfolded between them, filled with misunderstanding and sorrow. Ian saw it merely as a consequence of difficult birth and her fragile emotional state. Vanessa searched for signs and answers in her dreams and vague instincts. This time, her husband's words, though full of love, felt hollow. She recalled the village woman, A. There was a woman known for her remarkable wisdom and her ability to heal emotional pain and suffering. Perhaps Vanessa should seek her help. When Laura, Vanessa's mother-in-law, arrived, she immediately sensed the tension and fear gripping her daughter-in-law's heart. A woman with experience and a sensitive soul, Laura trusted the power of maternal intuition and believed in the messages carried by dreams. After a long conversation with Ian, she suggested reaching out to the wise Avdotia, who was known to heal the afflicted and help interpret the hidden messages of faith. Avdotia was the one who had revealed stories of recovery, like that of Elijah from the neighboring village, who was once considered hopeless. Despite Ian's skepticism, he did not want to lose the last thread of hope for his family's happiness, so they set off to find her help. Vanessa felt frightened and confused. Her eyes, for some reason, could not hide the pain and exhaustion within. But by her side was her husband, who, despite his own doubts, held her hand firmly, showing that together they were stronger than any fear. They traveled to Avdotia's modest home, where the environment was simple yet filled with warmth and support in every detail. Parker, upon waking after the journey, seemed to calm down as if he understood that no harm awaited him here. The wise woman examined the child carefully, skillfully feeling his palms and softly stroking his head. She noticed that the little one responded to kindness and serenity, as if sensing genuine care surrounding him. Asking Vanessa to sit down, Avdotia prepared to share her insights. Klepko gently took her hands, closed her eyes, and sank into silence. The quiet held deep meaning, as if each moment brought them closer to the source of truth. After several minutes, she whispered that the boy was fine, that he truly was Vanessa and Ian's son, and that his behavior was linked to her fear and inner doubts. Children may not know much yet, but they sense everything, the elderly woman explained. When asked about troubling dreams, the wise woman responded with a tender smile and softness in her voice. "You prayed to Matrona of Moscow and visited Samuel at the Pokrovsky monastery. That is the help you needed. Your Parker belongs not only to you, but also to this world." She said he carries light within and will grow up to change you and do much good. She reminded them of dreams where shadows swirled around the baby, adding that he is the light and the protector, keeping darkness away from himself. Avdoti's words were like a breath of fresh air for Vanessa, lifting the weight of worry and opening her heart to joy. The woman wept with relief, feeling her fears fade and calmness arrive. Hand in hand, Vanessa and Jan returned to the car with newfound brightness in their eyes, believing happiness and true miracles awaited ahead. Parker grew into a kind and caring person, a medical university student who chose the path of helping others, driven by his inner calling. Later, Vanessa and Jan became proud parents to their daughter Laura, whose name also symbolized light and hope. Their family found harmony, and their story became one of warmth and inspiration. It remained for them forever a symbol of how crucial faith, patience, and love are, powers that can counter any darkness. Now, renewed in strength and filled with hope, they step into the next chapter of their lives, where new challenges and victories await to be shared. Alienation and fear inside the home created a strange silence that hung in the air of the maternity ward, binding Vanessa with chains of inexplicable dread and anxiety. From the very first moments after Parker's birth, she sensed something foreign creeping into her soul. It felt as if the baby was not truly hers, although all rational thoughts rejected such an idea. Fear enveloped her heart like a thick fog, tightly gripping it in the prison of estrangement. After long 7 years filled with searching and hopes for a miracle, hundreds of examinations and procedures had made the wait for a child unbearably long and exhausting. Vanessa's mind was consumed with thoughts wondering if she would ever experience the joy of motherhood. Yet, no matter what, she clung desperately to her dream. Ian, her husband, although skeptical at times about her moments of despair, stayed beside her, trying to comfort and support. Despite his care, Vanessa found herself sinking deeper into the isolation of her own thoughts. In the dim light of the hospital room, she avoided touching Parker and feared holding him close, as if some primal instinct whispered, "This child is a stranger." His fussiness only heightened her unease. It seemed the baby sensed his mother's distance and responded with distress and tears. Nights brought Vanessa disturbing dreams. Ghostly shapes and shadows swirled around her and the baby, as if trying to warn them of what was to come. In one dream, a vague female figure whispered, "This child is not yours. Remember that." Vanessa would wake up drenched in cold sweat, her heart pounding wildly and her mind desperate to grasp the hidden meaning behind those words. The unclear voice from the nightmares suggested that the baby belonged not only to her, but also to the one who created this miracle. The mysterious dreams never ceased to haunt her, deepening her fear and alienation. Seeking solace, Vanessa turned to spiritual guides and individuals who might help her face her inner fears. Father Samuel from the Pokrovsky Monastery became a symbol of hope and spiritual support for her. It was after visiting this sacred place that their long-awaited miracle occurred. Parker was born. Although immense joy filled the family, Vanessa could not shake the strange feelings inside her. A sense of unfamiliarity grew within her soul, and this internal conflict began to tear the family apart. Ian, watching his wife struggles, tried to understand her state of mind, but his skepticism sometimes led to arguments. "Maybe it's time to stop suffering. Perhaps we should adopt a child," he once asked, searching for a compromise. However, his words went unanswered. Vanessa's inability to fully accept Parker divided their hearts, creating an atmosphere of estrangement and fear at home. The little boy, like an intuitive mood detector, became capricious and restless, sensing the tension around him. In the heavy silence of their apartment, tension steadily grew while words filled with distrust and irritation spoiled the atmosphere. Vanessa could not see in her son's face any trait resembling either herself or her husband. In a moment of despair, she opened her heart to Ian, confessing, "This child is neither yours nor mine." Ian accepted her words with astonishment and disbelief, struggling to comprehend the depths of what was unfolding. He explained it away as exhaustion after postpartum depression and emotional strain, but Vanessa sensed it was more than mere physical tiredness. Invisible threats, along with isolation and estrangement, caused her to fear for the baby's future and her own well-being. In her desperation, the wife recalled advice from an old wise woman renowned for her unsettling foresight. When Laura, Vanessa's mother-in-law, came to the house, she immediately sensed the tension lurking in every corner. This wise elder watched the situation with skepticism, but refrained from judgment. She believed in the power of a mother's heart and trusted the signs whispering of hidden dangers. Recently, Laura had learned about the healing of Elijah, an elderly neighbor helped by Ludmila, a woman wrapped in legend who restored hope where conventional medicine failed. Laura's counsel was both simple and profound. Vanessa, trust your instincts and do not be afraid to seek Ludmila's help. She will aid you in hearing the truth, understanding the signs, and freeing yourself from fear. Soon Ian hesitated, but wanting to support his wife took her to the old healer, promising to return with the answers the family desperately needed. Ludmila's home welcomed them with humble quietness and warmth. Vanessa, burdened by inner turmoil, felt her heart ease just a little. The little one, now accustomed to unrest, behaved gently in the calm environment, as if sensing the kindness emanating from this peculiar woman. Ludmila looked at Parker with tenderness, as if reading a book of the future, breaking through the darkness of doubt with softness. With profound calmness and wisdom, Ludmila reassured Vanessa that her son was all right, and explained that a mother's fear transfers to the child, causing fussiness and unease. She also reminded her about the spiritual bond with the Pokrovsky monastery, where Vanessa had sought help before. "The child belongs to you, your husband, and the whole world at the same time," the old woman whispered. "He will grow to be someone who will not only support the family, but also assist many others." Relief began to wash over Vanessa as the dreadful cloud started to lift, bringing tears to her eyes. Ludmila's words felt like a weight was lifted from her soul, clearing the path toward acceptance and love. Returning home, Vanessa and Ian held hands tightly. Within their hearts, a new feeling was awakening, one that invited peace and understanding. Time passed, and Parker grew into a strong, kind young man who was drawn to medicine because he wanted to aid people with light and hope. At home, a younger daughter named Laura arrived, symbolizing renewal, joy, and happiness, bringing fresh meaning and dreams to the family. Vanessa and Ian's journey, shaped by fears and doubts, finally painted itself in bright colors of love and faith in miracles. These trials had strengthened their bond immeasurably. They filled the house with harmony and allowed themselves to look at the future with an open heart. Yet ahead lay new events and discoveries that would continue unfolding this remarkable tale about how love has the power to work genuine miracles. Vanessa could not shake the anxious thoughts swelling in her mind every time she looked at Paca. It seemed as if the lateral bond she expected to feel with their newborn son simply was not there. Her soul filled with an odd chill, increasingly difficult to conceal. Deep inside, a terrifying certainty was growing. This child felt like a stranger. These feelings intensified, yet Vanessa was afraid to admit them, even to herself. However, during a moment of emotional vulnerability when the light of hope flickered faintly, she finally decided to reveal her pain to Ian. Their conversation began with an awkward silence. Ian, caught off guard while eating, was stunned by her words. "This child is not ours." It hit him like a bullet to the heart. His eyes widened in shock and confusion, though skepticism did not immediately leave him. "Nor mine," Vanessa added, as if by saying this she both lifted the weight of loneliness from herself and fueled her fears. Ian tried to collect his thoughts, refusing to let panic take hold. His love for his wife and son remained strong, yet he could not ignore how strange her words sounded. "Then whose could he be?" Ian asked, with a slight smile that masked the unrest inside. The answer was complicated, because trying to describe what Vanessa felt seemed nearly impossible. "I feel like he is different. For many years we awaited this child, worked towards him. And now what? Suddenly everything feels so strange and confusing," the woman tried to explain, but her voice revealed her confusion and despair. Ian could not accept such reasoning. "Vanessa, you are exhausted. After the long and difficult childbirth, the baby was weak for a long time. Maybe it is just postpartum depression," he said in an attempt to comfort her. Yet the weight of doubt only sank deeper into their hearts. "Ian, I have strange dreams. I see shadows circling around me and Parker. They seem like warnings. In one dream, a woman said, 'This child is not yours. Remember that.' I would wake up in cold sweat and could not understand what was happening. This is killing me," Vanessa confessed quietly, with tears in her eyes. "Almost all mothers experience anxiety before giving birth," the man tried to calm her down. "You need to rest. Let us go somewhere." "I do not want to go anywhere," Vanessa shouted, and immediately the baby began to cry, forcing her to suppress the terror and gather her strength. It was hard for both of them. The infant often fussed, and Vanessa, exhausted and frightened, could not find the warm feelings for her son that she had hoped for and waited for during 7 long years of efforts and dreams. She grew tired of searching for familiar features in him, but the more she looked, the more convinced she became of her alienation from him. Her soul demanded explanations, yet words were powerless. Ian, witnessing his wife's inner turmoil, struggled to understand and support her. Yet his mind resisted. He could not accept that their child was not theirs. With each new argument and unspoken word, his anxiety intensified, and his wife's statements grew increasingly alarming. For the first time in a long while, they sensed a fissure in their once solid bond. Laura, the mother-in-law, A wise and empathetic woman sensed the trouble from afar. When she came to visit, she noticed the collective tension and silent pain reflected in their eyes. Laura understood that children represent not only a physical connection, but also a spiritual ability to sense one another. In a conversation with Ian, she gently remarked, "Do not blame Vanessa. Her heart perceives what the eyes frequently fail to see. If only we could hear more, perhaps we would grasp what truly occurred." She shared stories about Ludmila, a sagacious seer known for aiding many. People spoke of her healing the sick and how near her home she helped an elderly neighbor named Elijah regain his strength despite a serious illness. Although skeptical, Ian decided it was time to seek answers and peace. Using the excuse of a stroll in the city park, he took Vanessa and Parker to the small house where Ludmila lived. What struck them most was that, in this simple, quiet, rural setting, the baby suddenly calmed down. His tiny lips were gently licked, and a faint smile crossed his face, sparking hope in his mother for a better outcome. Ludmila welcomed them with warmth in her eyes and a soothing calmness that seemed to promise comfort. Trust gently cradled the baby in her arms, gazing intently into his eyes as she softly asked, "Are you calm now, little one?" Vanessa felt for the first time in many days how the tension inside her slowly began to ease. She shared with Laura her troubling nightmares and deep fears. Laura listened in silence, closing her eyes as if sensing something unseen and hidden. "Everything is fine with your Parker," Laura said when she opened her eyes. "He is yours. He belongs to you and Ian. He is frightened because he senses your fear. Children, you see, feel everything but have yet to understand words." "What about the dreams?" Vanessa asked hesitantly, still wrapped in doubt. "You prayed to Matrona of Moscow and visited the Pokrovsky monastery where Father Samuel serves. That is a sign that a miracle has already happened. Your boy was given not only to you, but sent out to the entire world to bring goodness. He will be a support to you and many others. Matrona helps selflessly, but your soul and heart must grow in love," she added. "Do you see shadows in your dreams? He shines brightly, driving them away. That is a symbol of the power of a bright future." Vanessa wept, freeing herself from the weight of despair and sorrow that had enveloped her in recent months. It was like being reborn. Ian sensed a new strength and hope beside his wife. The journey home was quiet, but felt different, as though a soft promise of happiness echoed in the stillness. Years passed, and Parker grew not just into a good person, but a true mentor. He chose to dedicate his life to medicine, fully realizing his calling to help others. Vanessa and Ian discovered peace within their family. Their prayers were answered once again when Laura entered their lives. The youngest daughter, bright and joyful, became a symbol of renewed hope. This marked the beginning of a new chapter, filled with happiness, where the power of a mother's love grew stronger than fears, and the family thrived, surrounded by warmth and light. Their days were filled with a melody of calmness and belief in miracles, as a new journey awaited them ahead. Laura's involvement and her quest for support brought fresh energies to their lives. From the moment Parker was born, Vanessa felt an unexplained tension, as if an invisible force had settled in her heart. making it difficult to connect emotionally with her baby. She struggled not only with fear and alienation, but also with an intense inner conflict, trying to understand why her child seemed like a stranger. 7 years of waiting, countless medical tests and diagnoses pushed her to the brink of despair. Yet hope for a miracle remained alive, sustained by faith and love. Ian was overwhelmed with joy at having a long-awaited son, but found it hard to grasp Vanessa's emotional state. His skepticism sometimes turned into frustration, because he believed her feelings were caused by postpartum fatigue and mood swings. He suggested adoption or seeking medical help, but Vanessa firmly believed in her miracle and searched for an invisible bond connecting mother and child. Laura, the mother-in-law, aware of the growing tension, felt worried for her daughter and grandson. Her life experience and subtle intuition allowed her to perceive more than what appeared on the surface. Quietly, she observed Vanessa's condition and the troubling dreams she shared, sensing an underlying struggle unfolding before them all. A mysterious female figure warned of a significant message hidden within the child's subtle movements and shadows that followed the baby. When Vanessa and Ian visited Samuel, the priest from Pokrovsky Monastery, they received more than spiritual guidance. They gained the realization that their journey would be difficult and filled with challenges. Samuel emphasized the importance of faith and love, explaining that miracles often appear not in familiar ways, but through confronting fears and doubts. Still, the internal struggle within Vanessa remained unresolved, and her desperation did not deepen. It was Laura, with her gentle and sincere nature, who suggested seeking help from the old seer Avdotia, known in the village for her extraordinary wisdom and support. Avdotia's gift for perceiving the unseen and healing souls inspired the couple to find new hope. Laura shared the story of Elijah, a neighboring elder whom Avdotia had miraculously healed, proving that help arrives to those willing to believe in wonders. At first, Vanessa was doubtful about this idea, fearing it might increase her anxiety. But gradually, she trusted Laura and her husband's words, choosing to give it a chance. The visit to Avdotia marked a turning point. A modest cottage filled with a strange warm atmosphere and the kind eyes of the elder brought hope. Avdotia carefully examined Parker, sensing his fears and uncertainty, yet assured that the child truly belonged to the family. In the quiet of their long conversation, Avdotia explained that Vanessa's fears had transferred to the baby, and it was these fears that blocked their ability to build. Between them blossomed a familial bond that Vanessa had always dreamed of. She spoke about a spiritual force shielding Parker from dark influences, about the support of Matrona of Moscow, to whom Vanessa fervently prayed, and about the long journey the whole family still had to undertake. These words called for a life filled with harmony and love, allowing a miracle to unfold within their destinies. Returning home brought much needed relief. Vanessa, for the first time in a long while, felt she was not alone in her fear, sensing the presence of support, ready not only to listen, but to take action. Ian was beginning to grasp just how fragile and significant this moment was for his wife. Laura, quietly joyful as she watched the changes, understood that trust in this dream was worth it, because it held the key to happiness. Parker began to slowly shift his behavior, smiling more and throwing fewer tantrums, as if sensing that parental love was becoming a tangible reality rather than a distant ideal. The family was coming together step by step, overcoming psychological barriers and rebuilding lost trust. Between Vanessa and Ian emerged a new closeness, rooted not only in responsibilities, but also in understanding each other's inner pain. While the family was learning to live anew, their daughter Laura was born, a symbol of hope and renewal. Her arrival brought Vanessa and Ian a sense of complete harmony and joy, which had once seemed out of reach. The name of their daughter reflected their desire to carry light and goodness into the world, affirming the lessons learned through their trials with Parker. Thanks to Laura's wisdom and Samuel's assistance, the family found renewed strength to face the future with confidence. Vanessa learned to heed her heart, to trust her intuition and the support of loved ones, freeing herself from fears that once shackled her soul. Ian became a pillar of support and protection, ready to fight for the happiness of his children and wife. Life moved forward, and although challenges remained ahead, they now understood that together they could overcome anything. Trust, faith, and love proved to be the forces that performed genuine miracles spoken of by elders and seers. Their story was just beginning to unfold, revealing new chapters filled with light and hope that no longer left this family's side. Vanessa had long dreamed of motherhood, carrying a deep inner conflict that lingered even during her happiest moments. When at last their long-awaited Parker was born, her heart overflowed with joy, yet alongside it fear and doubt ignited. Vanessa sensed a vague detachment, as if her child belonged closer to a foreign realm than to her own spirit. Ian, her husband, made every effort to provide comfort, but viewed her worries and frequent nightmares with skepticism. Their married life seemed to be tearing apart, until news of a meeting with Samuel brought a glimmer of hope. Samuel welcomed them into a humble cottage on the village's edge. A gentle mist outside the window added a special sense of mystery, as if nature itself had been invited into this conversation. A tall woman with wise eyes that seemed to perceive beyond words attentively listened to Vanessa's story about fears, dreams, and the feeling that their baby belonged not only to them. With every passing minute, Vanessa's heart grew lighter, yet questions lingered. How could one grasp such an unfathomable sensation? And what warnings did the nighttime visuals bring? Parker, who had been fussy at home in Avdotia's arms, calmed down. It appeared the child sensed the kindness and light radiating from the woman. Vanessa was captivated by her soft voice as she explained that the child was not merely a product of their love, but also a part of the vast universe, filled with goodness and light surrounding the world. Avdotia spoke about the protection of saints, including the support of Samuel, a priest from a distant Pokrov monastery, whose prayers seemed to intertwine with the lives of those in need of shelter and solace. Ian remained skeptical, but seeing the children's peacefulness, he felt that his wife's heart called not only for understanding, but also for embracing mysteries that extend beyond reason. Andrew, much like the neighboring elder Elijah, who was once healed by the simple yet wise Ludmila, began realizing that miracles do not only happen in fairy tales, but sometimes truly affect everyday life. Meanwhile, Vanessa felt the walls of alienation slowly crumble, making room for emotional warmth and trust. Grandmother Laura, Vanessa's mother-in-law, had always been a sensitive and wise woman. She could keenly sense betrayal within a family And despite her cautious smile, she understood everything deeply. Her role had become a pillar of support for her daughter and son-in-law. The fears and doubts that tormented Vanessa felt somehow familiar to Laura. She whispered to herself that a mother's heart knows more than any physician. Dreams are not mere chants, but warnings, reflections of the soul trying to alert to what is to come. Listen to your heart and never dismiss what appears in your dreams, Laura advised. Sometimes truth reveals itself there when eyes remain closed to reality. Tenderness and confidence echoed in Laura's words, and Vanessa realized she must find strength within to overcome fear and uncertainty, filling their home with light and harmony. Ian, observing his wife's inner struggle, pondered that real strength lies in unity and mutual support. At the end of their talk, Laura warned about shadows that gather around those who fear and refuse to accept miracles. Shadows are not always evil. Often they stem from human anxiety and confusion. Yet, the light emanating from childhood and a mother's love can dispel any darkness. Laura believed that Tarker was connected to something greater, a current of kindness and hope meant to accompany them throughout life. Vanessa and Ian left Laura's house with a renewed sense of purpose. Their emotions were mixed with deep gratitude and the understanding that their journey was just beginning. Faith blossomed, trusting that little Parker would bring light, strengthen their family, and give meaning even in the hardest trials. Vanessa felt different, lighter, calmer, ready to love without fear or doubt. They returned home in silence, holding hands as if bound by an invisible thread of hope. Ahead of them lay new days filled with challenges and joys, along with the anticipation of meeting their younger daughter, whom they planned to name Joy, to represent new life and a rekindled faith in a bright future. This journey made Vanessa reconsider herself and learn to embrace the miracles living nearby. One only needs to open their soul to change. Their story went on, reminding us how crucial it is not to fear admitting feelings, seeking help, and believing that any despair can be transformed into meaning filled with light. Now Vanessa and Ian could confidently face their fears, while Parker, surrounded by care and love, was already becoming the growing light to brighten their world. This tale marked their starting point, a step toward new revelations to be shared later. The story of Elijah and the belief in healing began the moment Vanessa saw her baby Parker for the first time. Something inside her stirred and sounded strange, like a foreign melody in her heart. In the maternity ward, as the newborn fell asleep in her arms, she felt an inexplicable distance. This sensation was so intense that it frightened her more than the joy of motherhood she had long awaited. 7 years of waiting had made her dream almost unreal. And then the miracle occurred. Pregnancy after years of trials. Yet the bond with the baby seemed disconnected, alien. She was afraid to bring him closer. Vanessa was afraid to hold him, hesitant to even touch. The sense that this tiny little life belonged to her was so deeply confusing it overwhelmed her. Ian, her dependable yet doubtful husband, tried to comfort her both through words and actions. He reminded her of all the challenges they had faced together, the countless obstacles they had overcome, before finally seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. However, His confidence seemed insufficient to Vanessa. Unable to silence the growing terror and turmoil settled within her soul. His suggestion to adopt a child came like a relief. Yet Vanessa could not back down. She yearned for her own miracle, her own flesh and blood. More than just becoming a mother, she sought the sacred bond that should forever connect her with the baby. Turning to ancient customs and rituals, she hoped to find answers deep within the spiritual realm. She visited the Pokrovsky monastery, where she met Father Samuel, a wise and compassionate man. His prayers warmed her heart, but Vanessa's inner voice kept whispering doubts and warnings. Disturbing dreams only heightened her fears. Shadows began flickering before her eyes, and one night, a woman with a ghostly face told her in a dream that the child was not hers. Awakening, drenched in cold sweat, Vanessa struggled to understand the meaning behind these visions and how dreams could reveal such an incredible truth. Ian tried to explain the situation rationally, attributing it to exhaustion and postpartum depression. He did everything he could to support his wife, urging her to let go of her fears, offering rest and conversations. But Vanessa remained trapped in her anguish, torn between hope and dread. Vanessa sank deeper and deeper into the abyss of her own emotions and fears. Unable to find a single familiar trait in the baby's face, she was afraid to admit it aloud. Who would believe that a child could be a stranger? Yet, when despair finally voiced its words, Ian, quietly shaken and confused deep inside, confessed that he too was feeling something inexplicable. At that moment, Laura, Vanessa's mother-in-law, arrived at their home. Her wisdom and sensitivity allowed her to perceive the painful struggles hidden beneath the young mother's silence. Laura immediately understood that this was not about fatigue or a bad mood. Guided by intuition, she sensed a deep unrest tormenting Vanessa's soul. The woman listened carefully to all the hardships the young couple had faced and suggested they seek out Avdotia, a village healer renowned for her miracles. The story of Avdotia's healing of their neighbor Elijah, who had been on the brink of death but was brought back to life through her help, was a legend among the locals. This gave Vanessa and Ian a spark of hope. Avdotia welcomed them into a modest wooden cottage, fragrant with herbs and echoing with tradition. Elijah, the very same neighbor, now appeared reborn. His eyes shone with light, his movements were steady, and his smile radiated strength and true hope. His recovery was seen as proof that miracles could happen where no logical explanation exists. Holding tired Parker in her arms, Vanessa listened intently to Avdotia, who spoke about the incredible power of a mother's love. Matters of the heart and the delicate yet unbreakable bond of the soul come alive when one dares to believe and let go of fear. Avdotia managed to soothe Vanessa, revealing to her that the little one senses every single emotion she experiences, absorbing unconscious fears and anxieties. Lyudmila explains that her mission was to guide the mother toward inner peace, so the child could also truly open up and no longer feel like a stranger. She interpreted Vanessa's dreams not as signs of betrayal, but as part of a special purpose. Parker, destined to be a beacon and support not just for them both, but for many others as well. This idea brought a glimmer of hope for the future and encouraged Vanessa to see her son with fresh, loving eyes. Returning home, Ian and Vanessa held hands as if to affirm their determination to move forward. refusing to be overwhelmed by uncertainty and fears. Their little Parker walked alongside them toward a brighter tomorrow filled with love and light. Time moved on, and the family became wrapped in warmth and harmony. The younger sister Laura emerged as a symbol of newfound hope and joy. She was like a gift from fate, proving that miracles really do happen. Soon Vanessa and Ian watched Parker grow into a kind and compassionate young man. His path led him to medicine, a calling to help others and bring health that had been clear since his earliest years. Reflecting on the trials and worries of the past, the family understood that faith, love, and support can work real miracles, overcoming any doubts along the way. Attempting to make sense of their own emotions and challenges, they found strength in trust and unity. Facing their fears and relying on each other, Vanessa and Ian discovered a path to inner peace. Elijah's story of being healed by Avdateya served as a constant reminder that the strength of the soul and unwavering faith can not only restore the body, but also bring light to those lost in the dark alleys of despair. Their shared visits to the Pokrovsky Monastery, where Father Samuel provided them with spiritual support, deepened their faith and broadened the boundaries of what they believed possible. Open hearts and kindness helped them overcome any shadow, transforming fear into light and closeness. Step by step, Vanessa and Ian moved toward a new life, filled with understanding and love, where miracles ceased to be mere words and became a tangible reality. Parker and Rad's journey became a symbol of hope and family strength, continuing with a fresh and unique energy ready to unfold in the next chapters of their remarkable story. The revival of love and acceptance was a slow process. From the very beginning, Parker seemed completely unfamiliar to Vanessa. She could not explain what stirred within her soul, but there was no connection with the baby, provoking deep fear and anxiety. She was afraid to touch and even to feed him, as if an invisible barrier separated mother from child inside her. 7 long years of waiting, endless tests and procedures felt like a painful trial. But a miracle finally happened, and their long-awaited son was born. Ian, Vanessa's husband, tried to remain calm and supportive, yet sometimes doubt and skepticism slipped into his voice. He presented several options, but Vanessa rejected them all. She had been longing for her own child, a true miracle that seemed impossible to achieve for many years. Together they traveled to Samuel at the Pokrovsky Monastery, seeking spiritual comfort and support, hoping that a miracle might happen again and restore the lost bond. Vanessa was haunted by dreams throughout the nights. In one vision, a mysterious woman spoke in a gentle but firm voice. "This child is not yours. Remember that." Waking up drenched in cold sweat, she struggled to grasp the meaning of those words. Yet her mind rejected them, and her heart remained restless. The fear of the unknown and unexplained grew stronger, and those dreams became dark warnings that she could not ignore. The atmosphere at home grew tense. Parker cried often, desperately needing maternal warmth, which Vanessa was afraid to provide. She searched for any resemblance between herself and Ian in the little face, but saw only a strange, unclear reflection. During a conversation with her husband, she dared to confess, Parker is neither yours nor mine. Ian was stunned into silence, struggling to process this revelation. Their marriage teetered on the edge because of these words, but their love for the child pushed them to find a way to save their relationship. Laura, Vanessa's mother-in-law, quickly sensed the unusual tension in the family. She listened attentively to her son and heard about her daughter-in-law's troubling dreams. She suggested seeking help from Avdotia, a wise seer known for her miraculous powers. The stories about Elijah, the neighboring old man, who she yielded and encouraged Ian to take the final step for the happiness of their family. His doubts slowly gave way to hope. On a Sunday, Vanessa and Ian set out to visit Avdotia, accompanied by Parker, who was calmed only by the gentle sounds of nature surrounding the modest cabin. Entering the house, Vanessa felt a mixture of anxiousness and an instinctive calm, sensing that perhaps this was where a new chapter of her life would begin. Avdotia welcomed them warmly, carefully examining the child while softly stroking his hair and speaking kindly as if addressing someone very dear. After Vanessa shared the story about her dreams, Avdotia closed her eyes and sat silently for a long moment, holding Vanessa's hands firmly. She then said gently, "Your son is fine, but he senses your fear. Children absorb far more than we usually realize. Your visits to the Pokrovsky monastery have not been in vain. Samuel helped, and this miracle belongs not only to you. Parker is part of something greater, pure and bright, and this is a gift to the world." Avdotia's words filled Vanessa's heart with light and hope. She understood the need to let go of her fears, to love unconditionally, and to allow the child to be himself. Leaving the cabin, the couple held hands more tightly, feeling that a life filled with warmth and light awaited them ahead. They were now ready to become a true family, where love is both the greatest gift and the foundation. As time went by, Vanessa no longer feared looking at Parker. He had grown to be not just her son, but a symbol of strength and wonder. Ian supported his wife, growing more patient and attentive. Their relationship blossomed with mutual understanding and brightness. Laura, watching them with a smile, said, "So, love and acceptance are everything healing." Parker grew into a kind and compassionate boy, always eager to lend a hand to others. Despite all the predictions that frightened his mother, he found his true calling in medicine. Much like Samuel, who helped people find peace and faith. This journey became clear proof that miracles happen when the heart opens to love. Several years later, a new angel joined the family, a daughter named Rada. She brought fresh hope and became a symbol of happiness and light that Vanessa and Ian had long sought. Together, they learned to overcome challenges and embrace one another without fear or doubt. Their home soon filled with laughter and joy, and happiness felt endless, as if a new chapter was just beginning. On the eve of the morning, when Vanessa first felt a genuine bond with Parker, there had been many doubts and fears. But those nights filled with anxious dreams were now behind them. Ahead lay a warm spring, full of hope and fresh opportunities. They knew they could face any challenge, because their sons and the whole family's heart shone with a light that could never be extinguished. They walked together, conquering darkness and unknown shadows, welcoming dawns and new wonders. Though their path was not easy, love and acceptance became their guiding star, leading them toward happiness. Vanessa discovered the strength of motherhood every day, realizing that true wonder lies in faith and mutual support. The story of their family was now preparing to enter a new phase where light and kindness would conquer all doubts. They were ready to face the future with open hearts and the belief in miracles that happen where love resides. This faith would mark the beginning of a fresh chapter filled with joy and harmony that they had long sought. A new happiness and balance in the family were on the horizon. Vanessa never imagined that motherhood could be so complicated and conflicting. Even in the maternity hospital, she felt a strange distance from Parker, her long-awaited son. This inner struggle seemed to tear her apart. Tenderness and rejection were intertwined in her feelings. Ian, her husband, although skeptical, quietly watched and tried to support his wife, not knowing how to help her find peace and love for the child they had both waited for so long. Many truly hard months passed before Vanessa decided to share her vague fears and worries with Ian. She struggled to say aloud the words that tormented her soul. "Sometimes I am afraid that Parker feels like a stranger. I do not feel what I should," she confessed. Ian, despite remaining calm, sensed the full depth of her fear. He tried to dismiss her concerns as mere exhaustion and postpartum blues, but deep down, he knew it was more than just anxiety. Seeking comfort and answers, Vanessa turned to Avdotia, a wise seer known for her ability to perceive what was hidden from ordinary eyes. She represented a real hope in a world clouded by uncertainty. Avdotia listened to the woman attentively, gently took her hand, and expressed that she sensed an extraordinary strength in Vanessa's heart and a unique, bright destiny in little Parker. "You are not alone on this path," the seer whispered, reminding her that together they could conquer any fear. Ian noticed how Vanessa changed after visiting Avdotia. Gradually, warmth appeared in her eyes, yet fear still lingered in their home. At that point, Ian chose to seek guidance from Samuel, a priest from the Pokrovsky monastery, whom they had met several times during their journeys in search of a miracle. Samuel responded with compassion and love to their troubles, blessed their family, and reminded them that spiritual connection and faith can overcome any doubt. A true symbol of hope for Vanessa and Ian was Elijah, their elderly neighbor, who, with the help of Laura, another wise woman known for her healing and clairvoyant gifts, regained his health and vigor. His recovery inspired confidence that miracles are possible, even when it feels like there is no way out. Every time Vanessa heard stories about Elijah's revival, a spark of faith ignited in her soul. Perhaps their family would find harmony too. Laura, Vanessa's mother-in-law, was a woman with a delicate intuition. She sensed the household's anxiety, but never judged. Instead, with patience and love, she tried to support her daughter-in-law. Her advice and simple yet wise words often seemed modest, but they helped Vanessa persist. Laura was like a quiet flame that warmed them through the darkest times. Life gradually improved. Parker, despite everything, remained a bright and kind-hearted boy. Vanessa and Ian worked hard to create an environment filled with love and care around him. They taught their son to value kindness and the strength of the human spirit, reflecting their own hopes and dreams. Every success and smile of his became a small victory over the fear and despair that had ruled their lives at first. After a few joyful years, a second miracle arrived in their family, a daughter whom they named Rada. This name became a symbol of new hope, a fresh chapter, and the unstoppable power of motherhood. Rada brought light and happiness, uniting the family with a shared feeling of love and trust. Vanessa sensed that everything was finally shifting for the better, that fears were fading into the past and making room for harmony. Ian often said he now saw the true strength in Vanessa, a woman who had endured many trials. Together, they celebrated each day. Every moment felt like a celebration. Their family found the happiness they had sought for so long, a strong and genuine joy. Their home was filled with laughter and warmth, while Vanessa's heart overflowed with gratitude and peace. Parker became more than just their son. He grew into a person gifted with kindness and compassion. His decision to enroll in medical school was a sincere desire to help others. Vanessa and Ian were proud of him, seeing in their son the continuation of the miracles happening in their lives. He became living proof that family is not only about genetics, but also about the spirit that binds hearts. Spiritual strength and miracles held a special place for the family. They firmly believed that their journey to the Pokrovsky monastery and Samuel's blessing played a crucial role in shaping their destiny. This belief was more than just faith. It was a clear understanding that higher powers sometimes intervene, guiding people toward salvation and love. Laura, sensing these changes, became Vanessa's trusted confidant and advisor in every important decision. Through her wisdom, the family learned not to fear change, but to embrace it as an essential part of life's journey. This became a true example of support, without which their shared happiness seemed unimaginable. Avdutia transformed for Vanessa into more than just a seer. She was a friend who helped uncover light even in the darkest corners of the soul. Her words inspired confidence and encouraged holding on to hope, no matter how difficult the road appeared. Vanessa realized that real miracles come from within, revealing a new inner strength. Together, the family faced challenges, learning to trust each other and themselves. Vanessa was no longer alone in her feelings, while Ian developed the ability to listen sincerely and support his wife through her struggles. Their love and mutual understanding laid the foundation upon which a happy life was now built. Elijah became a symbol of renewal and fresh beginnings. His arrival gave Vanessa and Ian the chance to heal old wounds and view the world with new inspiration. Together, they crafted a warm and bright family, ready to face any trial with open hearts. Parker grew up remaining a bright and kind person, and his journey was already filled with care and love. Vanessa understood that the past, with its challenges, had made them stronger, and their love for the children became even deeper and more unwavering. Mother and father watched their children with pride, realizing that true miracles happen only to those who believe. Their story was one of searching, struggling, and finally finding happiness. When Vanessa and Ian held little Laura's hand and looked at Parker, hope flickered nearby, shining brighter than any fear. They knew that new trials awaited them ahead, but now they were prepared to face them with faith and love in their hearts. A bright future and family joy laid the foundation for new chapters in their lives. Vanessa smiled, feeling that the time for peace, harmony, and genuine happiness had finally come. In this quiet hope, their journey continued, a path just beginning to reveal its secrets and promises.